Welcome to Florida Focus, a college football podcast. We have a Seminole and a Gator together, trying to put aside their differences and bring you the fantastic world of college football. Thank you for joining us on this ride of hype, hope, and hilarity. My name is Brandon, and I am joined by Chris. Today, we're going to talk about a new Patreon VIP feature that we have for our Patreon contributors. We're going to talk about a new way to send us your questions and maybe even get on the show. And our topic for today is we want to cover the top 5 returning starters on defense. So how are you feeling about today's show, my friend?
Pretty good. I love talking football. Now, I just want to make it clear, because the way we do a little different, how we came up with our list is a little different. On offense, it's anybody that has potential to score the ball, returners, kickers. And defense, anybody whose primary goal is to stop them. That's where your punters will come in to play, or kick off specialists or whatever.
Okay.
So it's a little different. I know, if you play fantasy football, they lump defense, special teams, and but we don't feel like we have enough to make 3 different categories. So we're split it up this way. I know it might be different, but like I said before, it's our show.
Yeah.
So we're just gonna roll with it. So this is our returning defensive players. Anybody that their main goal is to stop people from scoring.
There you go. And I think we kind of covered that with a couple of our players on offense kind of doubled as special teams scoring opportunities, if you will.
Yes.
So, all right. Yeah, thanks for clarifying that. I know that some fans might light us up if we kind of...
they might still. That's fine. And that is fine.
But yeah, we're going to roll with this. So, top 5 returning defensive players, and you put the parameters there. Anything else we want to let the fans know about before we kind of dive into this, aside from the new coaching changes on that side as well of the ball?
No, I'm ready to go.
I love
ready
it.
to go. Put me in, coach. I'm ready to hit someone.
Okay, perfect. So, as a reminder, Chris and I don't discuss these lists beforehand.
Yeah.
So, there won't be any crossover here, obviously, but we kind of surprise each other every once in a while with some of the selections. And the other thing is, if you're used to the format that we have in the past, we've traded. So Chris will start at his number 5, I'll give my number 5, so on and so forth. And then at the end, we normally give honorable mentions. However, Chris and I are going to change the format up going forward. So we're going to stop ourselves after number 1, and then we'll explain to you how you can access the honorable mentions in the future. So
excited about that.
Yeah, it's a cool new feature. I'm happy we got it installed. So
all
right, whenever you're ready, sir, you can go ahead and hit your number 5.
All right, number 5 is Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. I think he just went by Chauncey Gardner for the longest time, but now he added the hyphen Johnson at the end there. He is a defensive back, mainly safety, but has played the nickel spot a lot. Just been everywhere, really. And he's a guy that has came out of high school highly touted and has shown he's got that big play capability. And I'm excited to see his progression if it continues to go up. I think it was last year during the season, it seemed like he was kind of shying away from contact a lot, and a lot of the fans called him out on it.
Oh,
and I even noticed it too. I picked up on it, and I was kind of upset. But to his credit, as the season went on, you could see him really getting tougher and tougher, even as the wheels were falling off for us, and we were just losing games left and right. He actually stepped up and got better, I think. He had 58 tackles last year, 2 interceptions, and 7 pass breakups. He's a guy that earlier in his career was taking some of those to the house. So I could definitely see him being a leader on our defense, and he is very, very talented. And like I said, very versatile too. Plays at safety, but can go at any of those corner spots.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's great. It's I've never shied away from the fact that I've always been very jealous of Florida secondary, and so That's the kind of guy I'd want on our team, hands down.
Yeah, and he's got long wingspan too, which I think is fantastic to have at that position.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
makes sense. All right, good guy. As we mentioned in the offensive episode, I'm a fan of a guy that can find the end zone. That's the kind of guy that usually breaks a lot of records.
Yeah.
So that's good to know. All right, great pick there. So I'm going to start off my list with a little bit of a disclaimer.
Uh-oh.
That's okay.
Uh-oh.
It's really just I'm just going to be honest and transparent kind of deal. Florida State's defense lost a lot of players.
Okay.
And so my list is a lot of guys that we have left, and the cupboard's pretty bare. However, Florida State's never lacking in potential. And so a lot of these guys probably aren't going to be like pretty picks. They're not going to be guys that you might think. However, I just bear with me, Nole fans. I feel like these guys have enough potential. They're going to make a difference. And a lot of it's going to be on a hunch. Not going to lie. That includes my number 5, which is A.J. Westbrook. He's a defensive back. He is a senior, so he brings experience. And he's got a lot of talent behind him, which he's going to lead, I have no doubt. So a lot of the guys coming behind him are new. But given his experience, I'm pretty confident, even at 6'0", he's still going to make a difference, leadership-wise, and everything he learned from like a Derwin James or Tavares McFadden. That's still going to be implemented, and we can't overlook anything that comes with a new coaching staff. And so I really want his leadership skills. As far as tackles and pass breakups, he's not going to have those kind of numbers yet. And so I just ask, just bear with. The secondary, he's got a big shoes to fill. But if you look at Florida State's record, DBU, if you want, I've never had any kind of shaken confidence in the returning talent that we have. And so he's not going to have a whole lot of flash to him right away, but he's going to pick up really fast.
Okay.
And we've got a new defensive coordinating staff coming in, and they're going to kind of go back to we're going to pressure the quarterback kind of mentality. Something that some of the old 90s defenses would say was, it doesn't matter how talented your offensive players are. If the quarterback can't throw it, it won't matter.
Yeah.
So that kind of leads up to my defensive line picks. But when they do have the chance to throw, guys like A.J. Westbrook will be leading the secondary to get that swatted away or prevent some kind of havoc.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think I've heard of him.
Yeah.
Has he started or just kind of been behind looking for playing time?
He's played a little bit here and there. When you had like Derwin James and Fad, you didn't play him a whole lot.
True.
Plus the defensive scheme is going to be different. We're going to go to a 4-3. So when you went with the 3-4, we actually had, and I'm quoting some other very good Florida State sources here. The old defensive scheme was to take a guy like Derwin James and put him as a hybrid between like a corner and a safety. The new defense is going to put basically a hybrid between a linebacker and a safety.
Okay.
So a little bit meatier, more about stopping the run.
Right.
And so I feel like he has some potential in that system, which is why I put him at 5.
Okay. Oh, good. All right. Continuing my theme with DBU is another defensive back at number 4, and that is sophomore C.J. Henderson. This guy, he had his ups and downs last season. He really did. We had 2 true freshmen at corner starting for us, and they picked on him a lot, but then he showed some really good potential. He had 4 picks last year, and 2 of them he took to the house. Wow. A big one against Tennessee was huge. So you could tell when you watch him, you see he's a bigger corner, and he has that capability. But he took his lumps last year. But you see that a lot. Freshman corner, they're going to get beat. They definitely are, but how they responded. I saw him throughout the season. He would always respond, and he didn't shy away from the competition. And so I'm really excited to see him in his progression and that jump next year, this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's great.
I think he's going to fall right into the next line of great defensive backs here at Florida.
That's awesome. I know that, obviously Florida secondary has always been fantastic, but pick six, they're not that easy to come by.
No.
I mean, they really aren't. The fact that he had 2 last year, that's
a freshman, yeah.
4 total. Now, I don't know if this is related, but when Florida played Michigan, didn't you score at least once off of that pick six?
One of them was him.
Okay.
And one of them was, I think, Duke Dawson.
Yeah.
Scored. Yeah, that was like our only offense that game.
Okay.
Ugh, it was a rough one, but he's a ball hawk. He wants to compete, and I think last year that experience as a freshman is really going to play big this coming year.
Okay. That's a great talent to have in the backfield. It really is.
Yeah.
Especially, are there a lot of SEC teams that are going to throw more that maybe he can kind of be presence, or do you think he's going to be limited? They're going to scheme around him because of his talent.
Maybe scheme around him. I don't know. I'm trying to think of what teams would really just. I know Kentucky kind of likes to. Okay. Traditionally, Georgia, we're definitely going to need him. They like to run, but they got a good quarterback. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I guess typically our people we play against like to run, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe because of him, they have to run.
Yeah.
That's kind of the way I was.
Yeah, we'll spin it that way. Yeah, I like that.
So Henderson, good pick there. So I'm gonna stick in the backfield secondary again, and my number 4 pick, and this was a tough one between 4 and 3, but I'll go with Stanford Samuels III, cornerback, for my number 4. And most people, Florida State and non-Florida State, would actually know Stanford Samuels because of his father. He was also an FSU corner, and there's a YouTube highlight that kind of represents the Florida State-Miami rivalry. It was in 2003.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
He just lit up Roscoe Parrish. I mean,
yeah,
just flattened him. It was great. It was raining. It was beast mode, but it didn't even.
Did you just drop a beast mode? What age are you too old to drop beast mode? Well, I feel like.
I have a 15-year-old daughter.
Okay.
This vocabulary lives in my house. I don't.
True.
I don't really know
okay, I'll give you a little bit of leeway.
I don't know what else to say there. That's.
I'll throw a little bit of leeway.
Yeah, he went there. It's easy to see if you look it up. It was a fantastic play. But anyway, that's his father. He has just as much talent. And he had a fantastic spring game. He was not a starter last year, but it is coming back. And he's just one of those guys that was kind of groomed in the style of the old good cornerbacks. And the new system and the new coaching staff he's taken to really well. And so it's very exciting to see what he can do. It's hard to know exactly where the secondary is going to succeed as far as scheme and how his pass breakups and everything. But he's also got the hips turn, and he's also got the agility. So I like his skill set, and I'm very excited to know that he's going to be with my number 2 pick. And he's with a really good core of defensive backs. Even despite the lack of experience of some of these guys, I'm seeing a lot of information that were ranked pretty high because of the incoming talent, the 4-star guys that just continually flow into Florida State. So that's why I just don't have a whole lot of concern. It just doesn't look good preseason to put us so high because of the lack of experience, but I have no doubt, given maybe our first month of games, that by the time October rolls around, they're going to be completely ready to face everybody.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Good. Then my number 3, continuing with the DB theme that we have, apparently, that is Marco Wilson. And that was the other freshman cornerback from last year. I think he is a little bit more of the physical of the two. And his brother, Quincy, played for us a few years ago, and he was phenomenal. Just long, lengthy corner. Marco's just the same. He loves the competition, loves to get physical, does not shy away. He had 21 tackles, didn't have any interceptions, but he had 10 pass breakups. So he took some of his lumps too, but really responded well. And I think he and C.J. Henderson are going to be a nice 1-2 going forward. And they're both sophomores, so I'm really excited about them in the defensive backfield.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. So, my number 3 pick. I'm gonna switch it up a little bit. Let's go away from the secondary. That's all right.
Yeah.
Let's go.
That's odd. Okay.
Yeah. Let's go defensive line. This is Mr. DeMarcus Christmas. Yes, I know.
I'm just gonna stop. I had so many puns I wanted to say, but I'm gonna let you finish.
Okay. Well, I love you, so interrupt anytime you want with the puns.
Okay.
I welcome them. Well, I'll throw one out there to get you started. I mean, when you have
good.
Rudolph and Christmas on the same team the same year, come on. Christmas comes early, Rudolph delivered. It's ripe with puns. So, DeMarcus Christmas is somebody that, again, with the leadership, he's a senior. This is his 3rd year. He needs to keep up the pressure on the quarterback. He's going to be joined with some other really, really strong talent, and he's had some bright spots. He needs to continue that pressure. I have no doubt that with our scheme and what I mentioned earlier about trying to get to the quarterback, bringing that back, it's going to be huge. You might have heard Mickey Andrews will be joining the Florida State staff as a consultant this year.
No, I did not hear about
Indeed.
this.
And it also is great timing because our new defensive coordinator is all about pressuring the quarterback. He came from Michigan State. Some pretty good defenses up there, I might admit. His interviews were fantastic, and I'm going to take a second to talk about his I don't know if it was media day interview or it was like when the beginning of fall camp began, but one of his quotes really stuck with me. He said, "No offense to Michigan State, but Florida State has some dudes." Has some dudes. He was talking about the talent, and that to me is like, hey, yes, we have a leg or two up on like a Big Ten school.
Right.
He was already impressed with the talent we had. DeMarcus Christmas is a great example of that. So I'm really excited to know what Harlan will do. That's our new defensive coordinator. What Mickey Andrews will contribute, given that we're kind of going back to a similar style of what he used to run, and just getting after the quarterback. It's really exciting.
That's awesome. That's good. That one I do. I forgot that I knew that player.
Oh.
I forgot he was on there. But yeah, that's very important, and it does not hurt to have Mickey Andrews hanging around. Yeah. That's for sure.
It's fantastic. Taggart's been really good at bringing about all the coaches. We'll just say they've been absent in the last 9 years, but I'll leave it at that.
Okay. I wonder why.
Yeah. Mystery.
All right, so my number 2 in that is David Reese, our linebacker. He has been the defensive leader of our team, kind of putting people in place. He had 56 tackles last year, and I don't think he is – how am I saying this without sounding just like a jerk? But I don't feel like he is as physically as talented as middle linebackers that we've had in the past.
Oh.
I just feel like he's a little slower, but he's intelligent, very intelligent guy, and he's a guy that will put people in the right places. But I think it's very key for him returning because this is a whole new defense, and as the returning leader, if you will, if he is on board and he picks it up, I think the rest will follow. And I think he's important to because he's right in the middle of the field, and he's going to be putting people where they need to be before the ball lines up. I think he's always been done a good job at that.
Okay. I
just think sometimes he misses some angles or he'll run the wrong gap himself, and physically he just can't. Knowing this, I know he could outrun me, out tackle, out jump. I'm not saying I'm not trying to knock the guy.
Right.
I'm just saying compared to other linebackers, I don't think he's there, but he's very, very, very smart. And I think if he commands the defense and the scheme, and I think the rest are going to follow with him. I think it revolves around him. The success definitely does.
I like that. He's like a Peyton Manning of the defense.
Yeah,
If
you will.
Okay.
I would love to see Peyton Manning at middle linebacker.
Right now?
Yeah, that'd be just hilarious.
Well, that's good to hear. Even sometimes when the leadership skills are great, the physical skills, it's okay to need improvement there.
Yeah. I'm not saying it sounds like I'm knocking the guy. He's not like, the worst. I think we're used to Brandon Spikes and Jared Davis and Brandon Seiler. Like, we just had like a good, 1, 2, 3, even even before them. So I think it's a little talent-wise, a little bit of knockoff, but he's there mentally, and he's had to jump in due to injury as a freshman. He had to jump. He's a junior now, but he's basically been starting for almost 2 years.
Okay.
So he knows, what he's doing, and he's definitely going to be the leader, the vocal leader on that defense.
Okay. I gotcha.
Yeah.
Sometimes I like to make weird references, so I'm going to make one here.
Okay.
There's a book called The Alchemist, and the protagonist of the story is a shepherd, a young man, and he has, I learned this from the story, some of the lead shepherds and leaders of the pack, it didn't matter what they looked like. As long as they led the other sheep, the shepherd would let them do that, and they were the important to the flock.
Okay.
Well, in the story, he had the sheep that was the leader of the flock, but he had a lame leg, so he would limp. Well, he goes to that one point to sell some of his sheep to make some money, and somebody's looking at the sheep, and they said, well, this one has a limp. He said, well, it doesn't matter because he's the leader of the flock. So I guess you can put that analogy sometimes on the football field too. As long as the guy has the leadership skills, you can overlook some of the other things that he needs to work on.
Right.
All right. So
I like that.
There's your reference for the day.
Our middle linebacker is a limping sheep. Okay.
That's exactly what I wanted everyone to take away from that. That's
great. And starting at middle linebacker, a limping sheep.
Oh, yes. So there you go. I can't wait for Reese to listen to this and light us up.
Yeah, I know. And David, if you are listening, I deserve everything.
You put it on me.
I'm sorry.
It's the Florida State guy that said it,
Yeah.
So, there you go. So, my number 2, I'm going to go back to the secondary. Yeah. And my number 2 pick for returning guys this year is Levante Taylor.
Okay.
Again, given all the talent we have coming in, he's going to be leading arguably a top 10 secondary unit. Still behind UFs. But for the same reason that I mentioned, the leadership being so important, kind of my segue into why Levante Taylor's so good. He's a very highly touted NFL guy. When you look at the way the defense is going to run, attack the quarterback, block a lot, be in the right position, he can turn and he can defend the deep ball just like everyone else. So, just a fantastic talent, and I'm very excited to see what he has in store. I don't know this to be certain, but I imagine he could be a guy with 3 or 4 interceptions, or at least interception opportunities, pass breakups.
Right.
And so that I'm kind of in love with the skill. So I'm liking Taylor for number 2 pick.
Okay. How many corners did you have, or defensive backs?
Let's see.
So far?
Corner. Westbrook, Samuels, Taylor. So 3 on my 4.
Yeah, I've so far 3 as well. That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I was going to point this out, but you notice how there's no linebackers on my list. That's
wow.
Whew, man, it's scary.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that why you're going back to the 3-4? 4-3, whatever.
Yeah, going to 4-3. It's probably it might be some of it, but it's been a weak spot for a while, a couple of years.
Okay.
When you go 3-4, you need a linebacker to kind of fill in.
Right.
But I mean, also as I mentioned, the linebacker hybrid safety. That's
true.
Might be another reason why we don't have any linebackers. So some guy to stop the run, could be helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. All right, so we're at my number one.
Yes, sir.
All right, and this is a guy who considered maybe looking into going into the draft last year, but decided to come back, and that is C.C. Jefferson, defensive end. This guy is a monster, and he's actually they're talking about maybe putting him into kind of a hybrid DN linebacker position going into this year. But he's a guy who definitely is NFL talent. He had some injuries last year, kept him off the field a little bit, but he is really good. Tall, athletic, fast, really good at coming off the edge, and I think they're looking to mix him up a little bit at linebacker and have him just shift him around a little bit, try to get him to the quarterback, and maybe even drop back into coverage a little bit, which is surprising because I think he's a little too tall for that personally, but they know him more than I knew him, so I'm going to trust him. But I think he's the most talented overall player that we have coming back on defense. And I think it's imperative that he doesn't have to get the sacks, but if he can get that pressure and make the quarterback feel uncomfortable, that's going to make everybody else on defense look better. So I think that's why he's my number one.
Okay. No, I kind of agree with you with the drop back in coverage. If you're tall and you've got skills to be a defensive end, you would think he'd be better served swatting down passes at the line of scrimmage, maybe.
Right.
But, wow. Yeah, great pick. It's good to see a guy come back like that. He could certainly be the anchor of everything you do. So.
Yeah. I was excited when I heard he was coming back.
Cool.
Really excited.
All right. So it sounds like our number ones have similar skill sets.
Okay.
Because my number one pick as a defensive end is Brian Burns.
Okay.
He was good regularly, but when he had a breakout game, he was fantastic.
Okay.
And early preseason polls, he's probably like top 12, top 15 scouted for the defensive end position in the NFL next year. We'll see how this goes. A little bit of concern, taking some plays off. Not gonna lie. He'll kind of be dormant for a while, but just kind of average overall. Like his first 2 years, he had 14 sacks, but 9.5 of those came this year.
Oh, okay.
For instance. But when the games really matter and the game was huge, there was no one better. Against Clemson last year, he had 4.5 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and a fumble recovery.
Wow.
That's the best game you could ever have as a defensive end.
Wow.
And that's against the best team in the nation.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Yeah. So, he has that potential, and I'm hoping that continues. I'm pretty excited about that. Get that honed. Get that skill set even better,
Right.
Learn from the coaches. Trust the system. That's the advice I have for him. And he's going to skyrocket in the draft. So I'm very excited to have him pressure the quarterback. That's what we're going to be all about. And he's the guy leading the charge.
Right on, man. Good. Yeah, we both have the same mindset. It all starts at that pass rush.
Get to the QB.
Yep. What's that famous NFL clip? Bill Cowher. He's just yelling at one of his players. He's looking him right in the eyes. He's like, just rush the quarterback. Rush the quarterback. Just breaking it down. Like, it's simple. See ball, get ball.
It's fantastic. Yeah. It's everything we mentioned tonight with the defensive players returning, the last episode with the offensive players returning. It's shaking up to be a really good Florida State Florida game this year for sure.
Yes, yeah, it is.
And it'll get to the caliber it was eventually, but at least this year I'm feeling it's going to be evenly matched. And
we got a lot to talk about. We got a lot of time to talk about that game.
Yeah,
for sure.
we'll hold off that conversation, and the week of Thanksgiving, you and I will have a lot of things to share. So
yes,
that'll be exciting. All right. Well, great list. It's exciting to see all the potential we have on both sides. It's neither one of us are void of potential playmakers. I feel like the edge probably goes to the Gators on this one with the interceptions, the scoring potential. And,
on the defensive side of the ball, I would say so.
Yep. I don't feel like that's even changed for Florida in the last at least 10 years, maybe longer. So
yeah, it's weird. Like for the longest time growing up, like you knew the offense was going to be great because every year is the defense going to catch up, and now like the last 10 years, it's been the complete opposite.
Yeah,
it's so weird.
Yeah, for sure. And the defense is what kept us afloat for Florida State last season. No question about it. If nationally we were in the 70s and 80s in categories on offense, and the defense were 20s and 30s at the worst. And so that's why I'm confident to know these guys are going to return hard, and they're going to want it.
Right.
Very exciting.
Cool.
All right. Great list. I appreciate the chance to break down the teams, learn a little about the Gators coming back. As we mentioned to the fans earlier, normally this is the time when Chris and I would transition into our honorable mentions and maybe some other notes or some up and rising stars, but we have a new way we're going to give that information to you. And if you've been listening to the show, you know that we are on Patreon. The site is www.patreon.com/FloridaFocusPodcast. This is simply a way for us to receive contributions from you, the listener. We appreciate all of your support. You have our eternal gratitude.
Yes.
Believe me when I say that. So what we're asking is to become a Patreon fan. Just go to the website. It's $1 a month. That's all you need to do. And when you do that, we're going to give you a reward back. And that is we have a new private VIP Florida Focus Facebook page. It is top of the line. It is very Facebooky. It is very flashy.
Spared no expense.
Yes. Put a lot of work into this. And so what we want to do is let you know that the honorable mentions and any other notes that we didn't include today will be on that page. And that's exclusive to our Florida Focus VIPers. So thank you in advance for joining. Once you sign up for that, we'll send you the link. You'll have access to all of the good stuff there. Very exciting, right, Chris? We're glad to implement this.
Yeah. I'm happy to give back to the fans any way possible. We are so grateful for those that decide that they want to help us out in that way. It's all about you. We want to get you more content, and better quality content.
Yep. So patreon.com/FloridaFocusPodcast. We look forward to your contributions there. The other thing, as I promised at the top of the show, was I would let you know a new way you can send us your questions. So we all mostly have smartphones if you're listening to the podcast. If you do, it's a very easy way you can send us your questions in audio format. And heck, we're going to look through them, and we'll include a few in our shows in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You will be on the shows.
You'll be the new star. So the way you do this is really, really easy. You take an app on your phone that records audio. If you have an iPhone, it's voice memos. I'm sure Android has an equivalent. You record your question. We'll ask for 3 things in the question. We want to know your first name. We want to know your favorite Florida team for college football. And then your question. Off-season storylines, coaching questions. What else do we want to hear back from fans about, Chris?
Just kind of maybe what do we do on a game day? What do we feel about certain players? Maybe kind of off the field incidents. What are our thoughts on that? Maybe other programs. Anything really.
Yep. You name it. Obviously, we're a Florida Focus podcast, so try and keep it to the Florida schools. But if not, we love college football, all the schools. So we'll be sure to answer the questions too. So you can do that. What is the email address they can send that voice memo to, Chris?
Email at floridafocuspodcast@yahoo.com.
That's that easy. floridafocuspodcast@yahoo.com. Send us the attachment. Include all the information in there. It doesn't hurt to type it out, and then we'll look through those. We'll peruse through them. The feedback has been fantastic so far. We appreciate every way that you've gotten in touch with us, however that may be. Chris, there's a lot of ways people can reach out to us. Would you just remind people how that can be done?
Yeah, everyone needs to sit down because there's a long list. Many ways to get a hold of us. Starting off with our website, floridafocuspodcast.libsyn.com. That's Libsyn, Libsyn. Facebook and YouTube, Florida Focus Podcast. Twitter at Florida Focus Pod. We just mentioned the email, floridafocuspodcast@yahoo.com. Snapchat, FL Focus Pod, and of course, Patreon.
Awesome. Well, that was a great list. I think this one and then our other top 5 offensive returning starters, that kind of rounds out the highlights of what everyone might need to know, right?
Yeah. I was surprised I got into the defense as much as I did because I'm an offensive guy. But as we got to talking, I really got more and more pumped and in depth more than I thought I would.
Yeah, it's good stuff. And I mean, a big part of the successes of our programs have been the defense.
Right.
So I got excited too. Yes, absolutely. Great list. I feel like we've prepared our fans for any water cooler talk they may have at work, or if you weren't so sure about the teams or didn't have time to kind of keep up with everybody. I feel like Chris and I did a really good job of recapping some of the players we can expect, right?
Are we patting ourselves in the back? All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Feels good. Okay.
So yeah. Well, any last thoughts before we sign off for the night?
No, we just thank you. Please feel free to let us know what you think and who would be on your list.
Yes.
And again, thank you for the support.
Yep. Send us your list. We thank you for everything you've done so far. Thanks to the fans. Thank you, Chris. And until the season starts, go Noles.
Go Gators.